Vegan pastry chef. That's what I'll call you, I think. All right. Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Back by popular demand today, we have everyone's favorite vegan pastry chef. Her name is Fran Costigan, and she has a brand new recipe, so you better stay tuned. Welcome back, Fran. Nice to see you again.
It's nice to see you, AJ. Thank you so much for inviting me back. I had a ball with you the first time, I believe. Yeah, I did chocolate ganache, and I'm kind of known for my chocolate desserts, but I wanted to change things up today for you and for your followers, of which I am one. You got me through this stay at home so well because you've always got interesting people on many times a day. So that's been great. But I was thinking about doing a fruit forward dessert. Spring is sprung. In Philadelphia today, it's 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm seeing, I'm a big fruit and vegetable eater, a lot of vegetables. So I don't live on desserts, but we all have birthdays and celebrations, we hope. So when I became vegan over 25 years ago, really to help me with some digestive upsets and other health issues, I was looking for desserts and there weren't any possible. And the famous story or infamous story is that my 14-year-old son said, "You're not putting the candle in a sweet potato," and telling me that's my birthday cake. So I developed some recipes. It took a year, recipes that taste good for everyone. And for example, my chocolate cake, which my taste testers dubbed the chocolate cake to live for. In my cookbook, there's a standard wheat version with a rather small amount of oil, but there's oil in it. There's a gluten-free version, and there's a no oil added version, and that was Rip Esselstyn's wedding cakes. So I like adding value to desserts. In other words, I like really small portions, fill out the plate with fruit, have the dessert taste delicious so that it's satisfying. And I use creams. Now, my standard go-to cream is a vanilla pastry cream. The recipe for that and for the fruit gel that I'm not going to demonstrate the gel today, but you're going to see it. You can find that on my website, francostigan.com. Just hit the thing that says, the tab that says recipes, and you'll see fruit, you'll see creams, and you can find it. But I wanted to do a cream that was nut-free, and certainly for Chef AJ and my students who are oil-free. I want to back up for a minute and say that I teach a 90-day essential vegan desserts course at the Rouxbe Online Culinary School. And there is a 20% discount right now on the course that's opening in May. So you'll find that on my website too. But instead of doing a nut cream, we all have cashew cream with date sweetened or apricot sweetened, and they're wonderful. But I wanted to push myself today for Chef AJ and her pals. So first, I'm going to show you this really beautiful platter. I haven't finished the sides yet because I'm afraid that the little herbs and things will fall off. I haven't found any edible flowers yet, but AJ and I have, and a whole bunch of other people have been lucky enough to go to Rancho La Puerta Spa, and these dried organic rose petals were given to me by Chef. I have some mint leaves here and a dried strawberry, a freeze-dried strawberry, and now I'm going to do the reveal. So what is in here? Whoa, this is all gonna fall off. I have what's called an agar gel. I pureed some fresh, actually they were frozen, some frozen blueberries, and I cooked them with a little bit of agar, and you can get that recipe on my website. And then we're going to build it up now with fruit. And then I have cream already made because it's really best when you're doing creams to let them, unless it's a pouring cream, let them set and get into your refrigerator or even freezer so that they thicken a bit. The base for this cream, I'm going to look at my recipe here, is soaked pitted dates, hemp seeds, which taste a little vegetal, but here we're going to handle that. Plant milk, I'm using oat milk, cinnamon, ginger, and a little rolled oats, which is going to thicken the cream. And then we use the date soaking liquid. You never want to discard that. It's liquid gold. So I'm sure that you could make this with soaked dried apricots for a different flavor and some vanilla extract. I got the idea for this hemp-based cream from a recipe in the plant-based professional program at Rouxbe. It's one of my favorite salad dressings or dips, and it's oat, it's hemp, I mean, with varying amount of plant milk. I do it with water and lemon and mustard and dill and all kinds of things. And I thought, well, why can't we take this in a direction like that? So I have a blender here and it's brand new. So wish me luck that I know how to turn it on. I think I do. And to speed this up, because we had a 5-minute technical thing, what I did, I want you to follow the recipe, which I believe is in the show notes. But as I said, this is brand new. And as I was reading it over, I thought, well, why not put the hemp seeds, the plant milk, again, oat, and the rolled oats together and let them soak. It will make the blending go faster. I'm not going to do a blender dance like some people do. So I'm just going to put this into this blender. And it's new, so the lid is quite tight. And we know, and I'm sure Chef AJ can pop in here, how much health is in here. Hemp seeds have so much omega-3 and some 6 fatty acids. The oats have a lot of really important benefits. I eat oats every morning. It's the only way I would eat breakfast is to standardize it. And my dates have been soaking in my refrigerator actually for 3 days. You can go that long. I drain it because I want to have this liquid, and go ahead and soak your dates. One thing I want to say about the dates is that I rinse my dates, and when I go to pit them, I look inside every single one, because every once in a while you get one that's bad. I mean, maybe I've had 5 over 20 years, but if it's black inside, you want to discard that. So because I tend to get these ideas and sometimes not pay as much attention as I should, that's why having a mise en place is so important, meaning having everything ready to go. I have everything here, so I know that I'm ready to go. I keep my dates in the freezer, and while I love medjool dates, and believe me, you just put a nut into a date or a little piece of chocolate ganache, which I made the last time, and you can find it on Chef AJ's YouTube channel. It tastes like caramel when it's frozen. But because I use so much date to make date paste or to soak them, I buy what's called the pips. I think they're called the pips, but they're like the seconds. So they're a little softer, and sometimes all you have to do is pour boiling water over them, and they're pretty much ready. And it's a nice saving. So I am all for that. I'm looking for textural differences today. So the gel is soft. Some of the fruit's going to be soft. The cream is creamy. I'm going to use cacao nibs instead of nuts. So people who want a dessert that really tastes like dessert, but isn't as calorie dense maybe as you would get with this. If nuts are in your diet, a little bit of, I eat some chopped walnuts, I eat almonds, I'm healthy enough, it works for me. But when I'm looking to back off a little bit, I go to cacao nibs, which has all of the antioxidant in the chocolate. It's the chopped bean, and it's a little bit bitter, so you get kind of that walnut taste. So let me start by building this up, and then I have another really special treat, first time ever. I have mango, which I love, and I have a mango to cut. So in it goes. I have tweezers here, but I'm going to get real today. And,
Fran, a couple of people are asking what the name of the blender is.
oh, this is a KitchenAid blender. It's a KitchenAid blender, and I've used it a few times. I got it just a few days ago, and it works really well. I like the wide base. Now, what it doesn't do that my Vitamix does, although I believe they have a line that does, is heat. But it's so far working great. This is kiwi that I used a little melon baller to make little rounds, because again, we eat with our eyes. So don't say to people when you're serving them, or even yourself, oh, this is so healthy, you won't believe what's not in it, because that is such a turnoff. It's such a turnoff. So I'm going to put some of the, so you can see I've got the mango. So I have this firm but creamy gel at the bottom. That's blueberries. I think we're going to get a lot of fruit in here. And here I have some thinly sliced pear. And when you slice pears or apples, they tend to brown. And I don't especially like putting them in acidulated water, which is water with lemon in it. I think, yeah. So what I did was I had a blood orange that was on its way out, and I juiced it. This is going to be a very blue day. So I'm going to put some of the pear and some little mandarin oranges. Now, the chef in me would say that I need to tell you, you want to get all the white pith off. But you know what? There's a lot of healthy in this white pith. So I'm keeping it on. So I'm just going to put this on. And I know I'm going to have a really yummy treat later. So it's really a lot about the fruit. And I'm going to pour some of the already made cream on here, and then we'll go and make the cream. But I have blue cream today to show you as well. So where is my, oh, here's something else. If there's time, we'll do this. So I had a little more of that gel left, and I put it in this glass because it's so pretty. And then imagine you layer up fruit and cream and some mint leaves, or I actually infuse this with thyme. I like using herbs, and they're healthy too. So let's get some berries on here. I'm really about using seasonal fruits, but given that it's 70 degrees today and a lot of you are in other time zones, I'm going to put some of these berries on. And I don't care if some of the juice gets on the side of the dish. And now, where is my, all right. So this was made earlier and actually kept in my freezer. If you freeze this cream or any cashew cream, it's like having ice cream. So I don't know if some of you may be familiar. AJ, are you familiar with Suncor Foods, their powders?
No,
So
I've never seen them. What are they?
this one is, and it's pure, and it's a woman's own company too. This one is, it's a natural food coloring, and this one is blue butterfly pea powder. I have one in yellow. I have a burnt carrot that's a little bit dark, and I use them to color foods. There's also some nutritional boost to it. So what I did was, here is a cream that I made earlier. Now look, cinnamon and dates, you're gonna get something that's brown. So we're playing it up, I'm playing it up here with some of the colorful fruit. But look what I did. I added some of the blue pea powder and I got this lovely color. So I'm going for it.
That's really cool. Debbie says she remembers you from the Natural Gourmet Cookery School.
Oh my gosh, Debbie, that's a long time ago. That was a great place. It was because of the founder, Dr. Anne-Marie Colbin's book, Food and Healing, that I put together 25, 30 years ago. I put together the idea that my stomach aches were linked to dairy. And then, so I took a bunch of courses, I took Food and Healing, and then I became an instructor there. Now I'm gonna take some of these cacao nibs and sprinkle this all over. And I'm gonna tilt my computer down because I want you to see this. So can you see how pretty that is?
It's like a painting, and it really helps that you have a beautiful plate.
Well, these plates are really wonderful and they're new, but I said this earlier, I really believe that we eat with our eyes always. And when we are presenting healthy food, and then we know some of us have people in our lives who are like, I don't want it, it's healthy. But you put out something that's beautiful and then you're good to go. So I know I keep saying that, oh, I almost forgot this. So about that gel, I told you about that, you can find on my website. And believe me, if you can read, you can make that recipe. And agar is a wonderful, wonderful, it's a natural gelling agent. It's been used for millennia. It takes the place of bovine gelatin. And so sometimes I make it a little bit heavier and then I cut shapes. So I think I'm going to put this one standing on here and this one standing on here. And the thing with agar is it's calorie free, but it's soothing to your digestive system. And if you make a mistake, well, not a mistake, but you want to test things. So let's say you make the agar gel and it's thicker than you want it. I always say do a little test. Take a tablespoon, put it in their fridge, see how it works. If it's too thick, add more liquid. If it's too thin, add more agar. So there's that. Now, what I have over here, I don't have a recipe yet. This is an Aquafaba meringue. Now, Aquafaba is chickpea liquid or white bean liquid. One of my students did it with black soybean liquid because she wanted purple. And it whips just like egg whites. But to make meringue, you need to use a lot of sugar. I use organic sugar, but I know many of you who follow Chef AJ do not. Yesterday, I got the idea to make the meringue with maple syrup, which in my course, I tell my students, no, 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 it doesn't work. But I found a different way to do it. I thought like a pastry chef, and so far so good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cream. So I'm making in a way like a pavlova. There we go. And I'm going to put a bunch of berries on here. And the cream will soften the meringue. Well, so we'll see how this works out. When you are making crispy cookies, here's a little tip. I buy food grade silica packs. They come in your vitamins and here and there. And you want to keep crispy cookies in a jar with that you can tighten the lid, a glass jar, or in a tin with these silica packs, not in a plastic container, because then it will soften. So now I've made my pavlova with this no sugar cream and sitting on my meringue with maple syrup, which for many people who don't use granulated sweeteners, that works. And now it's time to do this. So I'm going to have to do a little noise. This is the kind of cookie I'm talking about. This is a lace cookie that's in my course, and you can see through it. And this is made with rice syrup and maple syrup only. So no refined sugar. Now all I have to do is find the top of the blender. Remember I said, oh, here it is. So what I have in here is the plant milk. I'm having a hard time. I use the Oatly non-fat for this. You can make your own. I have oats soaking to make my own, but I like the taste of Oatly. The only difference between the non-fat and the regular is that there's oil in the regular. And I've got my hemp seeds in here and my oats. And this shouldn't take very long. Okay, I'm going to abbreviate this. Now, I'm going to add the dates, and I'm going to control the thickness by the amount of liquid I add. If you want this thicker, first do a little test in a very small dish in your fridge for 10 minutes. If you want it thicker, use more oats. Use more oats. Now I'm going to add, the spicing is up to you. I'm adding cinnamon and I'm adding ginger powder. I love ginger, and I'm not adding any salt to this, any chocolate. I am going to add vanilla. So what I want to do is mute the kind of vegetal taste that you sometimes get with hemp. So this is to taste. Start with the smaller amount, and then, you can always add more, but you can't take, it's hard to fix things. Oh, that wasn't too bad. Now, this is going to be more like a pouring cream than what I showed you before. Oh, I didn't put the dates in. Yeah, here goes the dates. And while this is on, I'm just going to walk over and get a little bit more oat flakes in case I need oats. All right, what I don't want to do is have this blender, the noise going longer than it has to, and you saw the result, but this is pretty thick. And I would definitely, when I'm not with you, blasting your ears with the blender, I will keep going. I will keep going with this to get it smoother. I'm going to have a little taste, and that will help me decide. I'm going to put the vanilla in. That will help me decide if I want more cinnamon, more ginger. I mean, there are lots of things that we could add to make it taste good. I've been using what's called double fold vanilla for a while. So it's twice as strong as a single fold vanilla, but any vanilla will do. Chef Kathy Gold, who might be here with us, did a fascinating deep dive into the story of vanilla and all the different kinds for my Rouxbe Live event recently. And I learned so much. You know, vanilla is so expensive, and it has to be, it's a pod of an orchid, and they have to be hand pollinated because the bees that used to do it disappeared. But Kathy knows that a wild vanilla was found and those bees are around. So I'm going to show you this so you can see that the cream was made, right? So nothing left for me to do but taste it. Does anybody have any questions, Chef AJ?
Let me look, but I do you ever use vanilla powder?
I do sometimes. So I want to tell you that that tastes really good. And I'm not going to add any of the liquid. I might later if it thickens more than I want it to, or if I decide I want it as a pouring cream. So what I'm going to do then is build this one up. This time I'm going to put the cream in as a second layer. Maybe you think I should do the blue cream again? I think I should do the blue. I'm feeling blue in a good way. I can't believe I just did that. A little singing in front of the Chef AJ. In high school, they made me the page turner. That's how, can't carry a tune. Okay.
You know, for some reason, Fran, today Zoom is muting the blender noise. It doesn't always do that, but today we didn't hear any noisy from the blender, so that's cool.
Seriously?
Yeah, it was great. We didn't, it just went silent. So Diane says, is that your book in the background? We've got another wonderful pastry chef watching named Hannah Kaminsky.
Yeah, I have 2 books. The earlier one is called More Great Good Dairy-Free Desserts Naturally, and it's still available. And the newer book is called Vegan Chocolate, Unapologetically Luscious and Decadent Dairy-Free Desserts. And that book has been published in French, German, and Italian. So I'm still happy to see those recipes. Now, thank you for asking about that. So, when I do this, sometimes I put something down and I don't remember where I put it down. If you wanted, again, because I think that we want to give people different textures. So everything about this dessert really is creamy. The fruit is soft, the cream is soft, the gel is soft. So you might want to put something on the plate. This freeze-dried strawberry is not going to be soft, but how about a little teeny but super delicious chocolate truffle like we made the last time? So we could put that on the plate too. People are going to feel like they had a big dessert. I mean, it's a big plate, but it's basically fruit and sugar-free gel, a sugar-free cream, and lots of fruit and some cacao nibs. I'm going to dollop some of this. Again, this is exactly what I made today, but I used the blue pea powder. I could have used their pink powder or their matcha if I had fruit that would go in that direction. And I did, because I did freeze some, and it tasted really good frozen and was easy, very easy to defrost. I happen to have a lot of creams in my freezer at this time because I've been doing a lot of testing, and I'm going to defrost them all and get out my ice cream machine and do that. Remember, if you're doing a fruit dessert, use enough fruit. If you want to make it a little more interesting, get your little melon baller out. I actually did some of the pears that way too, and they were really great. I remember at Rancho La Puerta, the last time I was there, one of my recipes was made with mangoes. And I mean, oh, the fruits and vegetables come right off the tree. And we peeled so many. So here is what I've got going so far. I've got the dark layer. I've got this layer. I'm going to add. This is a small round piece of the chocolate cake to live for, the oil-free version that I told you about. Sometimes I bake it in a quarter sheet pan, freeze it, and then use a cutter to cut it out. This isn't about creams now, but I can't help teaching. So when you make a batter-based dessert that you like, it really pays to measure the batter. I know that cake makes 1 9-inch round. I know it's 2.5 cups of batter. So I know that I can bake it off thinner if I want to. And then I can put it right on here for a little treat. And we have a really nice dessert. Or I can pull it out and I can put this cookie because it's actually crunchier, and something crunchy would be really nice. And then I could take my mint, which was over there a minute. Oh, here it is.
When you do use vanilla powder, they're asking if you have a source because it is so expensive. Dr. Furman sells it. I got a bag for my birthday.
Does he? Chef Kathy said the price is starting to come down, but you really want to use real vanilla, not the fake stuff, which has a lot of sugar in it. So there is a website called Beanella that has some very nice prices and products. But if people just reach out to me, send me an email or DM me on Instagram, Good Cakes Fran, or send an email to me through my website. And there are a couple of less expensive places for vanilla. For example, you don't always have to buy the best vanilla beans. You can buy seconds and make your own vanilla extract. And that, I mean, you just need time. You have to wait 6 months to a year, but you just keep replenishing it. And what Chef Kathy explained was she takes the beans out. After she's taken the caviar or the seeds out of the bean, I know there are some people who grind them up, but you can dry those, you can put them into sweeteners that makes vanilla sweetener or make your own vanilla powder. So you get a lot of uses for the recipe. So there is that. And I want to show you also, you know, when I talk about cake, this little cupcake for me is a serving. It's enough. This is almost too much. So we're going to put some cream on here. And some more fruit. And if I'm giving somebody a birthday cake, I think a very small slice with lots of fruit and that cream is going to read big. It's going to read really big. Now, I do want to give you a blender tip that you may know already, but I do this all the time, particularly with my Vitamix, which has, you know, the narrower container. I have an old one, a 5200. After I've made a cream, no matter how careful I am getting it out of the container, there's always some left. I add a little bit of plant milk or a little bit of water and run it on high and get this really yummy liquid that you can add to your cereal, or maybe your cream is too thick, you want to thin it. So no food waste, no food waste. When I'm cutting strawberries, I take the top I put them into water and I have strawberry water. You know, if I need lemon juice and I'm using organic lemons, I zest first and then I juice. So there's lots of ways, you know, eating healthfully, I don't think it's expensive. I mean, I have a pantry full of dried beans and grains, and compared to what I remember about meat, which I really don't remember such a long time, but it has to be less expensive even than organic brands. But, you know, when it comes to fruits and vegetables, I buy things at the farmer's market. I buy them locally. I get things delivered from a company called Philly Food Works, or I did before I could go out. I'm fully vaccinated, so yay to that. There's lots of ways you can do. So buying fruits and vegetables in season is really going to cut down your costs and making sure to use it all. I made the first gel with frozen berries because that's what I had on hand. When you're using them in a batter, if you're making a muffin, don't defrost them. Just don't defrost them. So I've been yapping a lot. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, actually, a couple. Well, first, there's a comment from Kimberly. She said she took a 2-week baking course with you, and it was awesome. And Nancy said, once the pandemic is over, will you ever do in-person classes in Philadelphia?
I hope so. I certainly hope so. You know, once, I think it's going to be a while before things open up, but I want everyone here to know that I am doing some online cooking classes sometimes, and they're private. I haven't been advertising them. I've just been saying to people, let me know what it is you want to learn. And it's, you know, I have 2 cameras set up, sometimes 3, and we can talk to each other. I've done some corporate ones, but I've had a couple, you know, like 2, 3 friends get in touch with me, and then we can personalize it. I am going back to Rancho La Puerta the week of July 17th. So I'm very excited about that. Right now, the schools are closed. All the spaces are closed. Chef Char Nolan, who is quite a well-known whole food, plant-based, no oil chef in Philadelphia, is going to be doing something, for example, at the library. Our main library has a culinary literacy center, but it's going to be her and a computer, even though she's in the space. So I think that's a while, but I'd love to.
Yeah.
But I do find this much more satisfying than I expected. You know, there's still a connecting that happens.
Absolutely. Do you think by the time you go to Rancho La Puerta, they'll be having the classes? Because I know that they weren't having them for a while.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a long way out.
Yeah.
When they invited me, I was really excited, and July seemed a long way off. So I think my feeling is we know what's up this week. We know what's up today. We don't know. It's really hard to figure out what's going to happen in a few months. It feels like things are opening. Certainly in Philadelphia, there are things that are opening up more, but still cautiously. And I'm still being careful. I mean, I got through the pandemic. I feel fine. I was careful. I'm always been a hand washer. We people in the kitchen, my hands are a mess. I don't show, you know, but you want to wash your hands all the time. You want to wash your fruits and vegetables. You want to make sure about that. But I think we'll start gathering. When I moved to Philly, I was lucky enough to have an apartment with a terrace. So I became a plant person through this pandemic, and that's been fun. That's been fun. But I'm going to have some friends over when the weather is really nice, and we'll eat together and see how that goes. But in the meantime, I do think the online cooking classes serve us very well, and events like yours are really nice.
Oh, thank you. So we have a bunch of vanilla questions. The first one from Jody is wild vanilla cheaper?
Wild vanilla? I don't actually know what that even means. You mean the vanilla that I referenced? I don't think it's cheaper. I have a feeling it's more expensive because it would be artisanal. And if Chef Kathy is here, you can answer that question in the chat and we'll know. Right. Making your own vanilla is reasonable, but it has to be, it's an infusion. So you need alcohol. I sometimes use alcohol-free vanilla, which is different. If you can look for sales, and if you can buy a quantity and share it up with friends, that's going to lower the cost. I will tell you that, to my surprise and delight, Trader Joe vanilla ranked very high in a vanilla tasting. It ranked fine. And here's the thing, even with vanilla, with everything, you have to read labels, right? I never expected to see sugar listed as an ingredient in vanilla extract, and it was a very fine vanilla extract. So I looked at all my vanillas. Trader Joe's vanilla is vanilla beans and no sugar. So that's, it's not cheap, but it's reasonable. It's reasonable. What vanilla does is it's not a sweetener, but it rounds flavors out. So in a way, it acts like a sweetener.
Nice. So here's a question from, where did she go? Colleen. How does vanilla paste different from vanilla powder? Do you use the same amount? Maybe you could say the same thing with extract. How do you transpose if the recipe calls for like vanilla powder?
Same amount. Vanilla paste, you look like you have vanilla beans. Hold on one sec. I'm going to get some for you.
Guys, don't forget to come back at 2 p.m. We have another wonderful cooking demonstration today of a Hawaiian pizza burger and pineapple ice cream from Nate and Melissa Maris. That's at 2 p.m. today.
So this is vanilla paste. And when you use this, you see flecks of the vanilla bean, and it's quite a bit less expensive. But vanilla, and it works, but vanilla paste always, here are the ingredients. Sugar is first, water is second, pure vanilla extract, natural flavor, which to me is like, and a gum, which keeps it thick. But you can go ahead and use it. It works. In terms of, I think of it as 1-to-1, but you need to taste. You need to taste and see if you want to add more.
I think the vanilla powder tastes better than all of it. That's me personally.
Yeah, and that's pure, and you don't need so much. So, there are lots of different ways we can get our vanilla. I used to like a company, their prices were very good. I mean, nobody's prices are great anymore. And it has to do with not only how hard it is to cultivate vanilla, but the environment. There were a couple of terrible episodes, where vanilla is grown. So that's the story with vanilla.
Yeah. And it is a question, can you substitute medjool dates for deglet nor? Are they interchangeable in a recipe?
They are. The deglet nor are going to weigh less. So in my recipe, I want to see if I told you, I wrote 5 pitted and soaked medjool dates for similar. I actually weigh everything on a scale now. Please, people, get a scale. It makes life so much easier. So I know that I used 100 grams of pitted dates when I started. The deglet nor to me they have a different taste. All the dates have a little bit of a sweetness difference. There's one, I don't remember the name of it, but when I was visiting my son and his family in LA, we go to the farmer's market there. And I mean, it's like being in Palm Desert in terms of the number of dates, but we brought some home that were actually too sweet for me to eat. So sometimes I can eat a half of a medjool and that's it. My palate has changed and super sweet things. I mean, dessert is dessert. My first boss said, put some of the sugar back in, Costigan. You're making brownies, not brown bread. So I get it. And we all have different palates, but I never liked really sweet things. Dates are interchangeable. Soak a few more. Keep track of the pits. Believe it or not, I keep a little jar with my pits to make sure how many I used. so I can check the weight and so on. And definitely make sure that they're pitted before you put them in your blender, because you might think they're all not there, but I always start my blender slow for two reasons. I don't want whatever I'm making to switch up to the top, and also in case there's a pit that, you hear it. So you're using all your senses when you're cooking. And I think that's really wonderful. For me, this is really my meditation.
Great, thank you. There is a question from Diami. How do you like to wash your fruits and vegetables?
I have a double bowl sink. So and I tend to be able to buy organic vegetables. I use a drop, a half a drop. I fill up the sink with water for fruit and hard vegetables, and I add a drop of soap. I know there's some controversy about that. Some people say it's not good, but I rinse so well. There are fruit and vegetable washes. I have a Tawashi scrubber for vegetables. I wash and prep my produce as soon as I get it home. I feel like then I use it, except for super fragile greens maybe, but I get that kale home and it gets washed, and I probably have 2 dozens of these, which I can't recommend enough, and probably 3 dozen. And I keep some just for food and some for washing dishes, wiping dishes. And so then I'll take my clean fruits and vegetables, spin them dry or let them dry, and I keep them in my refrigerator, and it really works a charm. It really does.
Nice. Here's a nice comment from Voracious Vegan. I love Fran. My best friend gave me her More Great Good Dairy-Free Desserts Naturally book for my birthday long ago. Her chocolate cake to live for has become the gold standard for chocolate cake.
That's so nice to hear. Thank you for that comment. I really appreciate it. I'll tell you, I am by nature a tinkerer, and I have to, as a recipe developer and writer, you have to say, that's it, stop, it works. It's been tested, it works. But that cake has been with me. That was my breakthrough cake. That was when I knew I cracked the code. And it has hardly changed at all. Hardly at all, except for the 3 variations, the gluten-free, the no oil added. And people still say what this lovely person said. It's a very moist chocolate cake. Nobody ever would guess that it's vegan. Ever, ever, ever. So thank you.
That's great. Gina says, are those a special brand of dish towels? We need to know what they are, LOL.
Oh, well, these are like a no brand, maybe. Let's see. It says Utopia, and I think that I got these on Amazon. I used to buy them in a chef jacket store in New York, but this is from IKEA, and these are a linen blend, and they're really great. I was put off when I got them home and saw it said wash separately or iron. I'm like, I'm not ironing my dish towels, that's for sure. I take them out of the dryer and I do that. These probably have become my favorite. So what you want to do is get a cotton cloth. I don't buy the colorful ones because I don't want any of that dye. I mean, I'm sure it's safe if it's out there in the world, but I'd rather just have white. And it's a pleasure. And then, I have enough so that maybe every 4 or 5 days, I'll do a load, very hot water, dry them, ready to go again.
Nice. Is there any desserts you have yet to veganize?
Angel food cake. That seems to be a holy grail. But I'm sure it's going to happen. Here's the thing for me, is that there are pastry chefs, vegan pastry chefs out there now. Some have been my students and some not. who are doing the most remarkable work, things that people said couldn't be done. Carolina Malia in Miami, it's called L'Artisan Bakery. Anybody can write to me and I'll send you direct links. She has a vegan croissant that won a blind tasting in a French contest, Best of Miami. Can you imagine when these French guys turned around and went, Mon Dieu, it's vegan? They're exquisite. There are a lot of vegan croissants out there that I don't think are so good. They're heavy, they're greasy, whatever. When you start getting into that kind of work, you're using ingredients that I'm choosing, I have to know about, because after all, I'm leading a dessert course. But we all have different ideas. My way is to have a scale from super healthy like today to more of a every once in a while treat, piece of cake, with some other cream or maybe some ice cream or whatever. We did Baked Alaska at Rancho La Puerta. People go, and that's an assignment in my course with vegan meringue. It's super. But I'm not using what I call the helping things because I don't like the way that they're made. If you start using vegan butters, for example, my recipes were all based on a liquid fat, an extra virgin olive oil, because back in the day, there was no vegan butter. There was this disgusting hydrogenated margarine, which I didn't even know. I mean, it smelled so bad, and we know hydrogenation is really bad for us. Now we have Miyoko's butter, we have Miyoko's oat milk butter, and then there's Earth Balance, and then there's this Flora butter. Well, it's made with Flora, it's made with palm oil. They say they have a sustainability statement, and I believe them. That works better than Miyoko's for a buttercream or for a puff pastry because there's less moisture in it. It's different, it's a higher fat. So these are all things you have to know when you're thinking about making a different caliber of dessert.
I'd love to meet those people you mentioned if they'd like to be on the show. That sounds amazing, to win a croissant contest.
Unbelievable. In fact, she is going to have a feature in Pastry Arts Magazine, which is for traditional pastry chefs. And I sent a photo, a cross-cut of her croissant to the co-founder, and she couldn't believe it. She just couldn't believe it. And they, so these pastry chefs, I've kept a foot in both worlds. Vegans are my people. You're my tribe. But since I want everybody eating this way, and then I want to present, really nice plates that will be attractive, I'm a member of International Association of Culinary Professionals, Women Chefs and Restaurateurs, ACF, all of them, and I'm in the groups. And what I've noticed is I get so many questions now about vegan desserts because we are not a trend anymore. The train left the station. And if you think about it, it's so inclusive. It's not reduction. It's so inclusive. If you are ethical vegan, if you are allergic, lactose intolerant, which everybody is, if you're following a kosher diet and you need parve, if you're eco-conscious, this works for everyone. So I think it's really fabulous.
Gina says, do you ever use Aquafaba for anything other than meringues?
I'm starting to. If you take the Aquafaba, my way of working with the Aquafaba is a little bit different from other people in that I have an extra step, but I want things to work every time. So I wanted to standardize it. If you're draining a typical can of chickpeas, you get 2/3 to 3/4 of a cup of Aquafaba. I reduce it by about 1/3. When it's at 1/2 cup, I put it in the freezer if I'm not going to use it right away. I've made chickpeas in my Instant Pot with a stick of kombu and no salt, that liquid is quite a bit thinner, I reduce it probably by about a half. But if I'm using Aquafaba as an egg replacer, and they say 3 on average, there's no one size fits all. On average, 3 tablespoons of Aquafaba is an egg, but it depends what you're making. I always whisk it, not whip it like for meringue. I whisk it with a little bit of cream of tartar, which is an acid, and that's what you use when you're whipping egg whites. Or you can use lemon juice, or you can use vinegar. But I like about 1/8 of a teaspoon of the cream of tartar. And then I will replace an egg with it. Jus Deaver has a wonderful book that I recommend called Aquafaba. And she is very scientific. And she has a muffin in there, a lemon poppy seed muffin that's out of this world, where she uses Aquafaba as the egg replacer. Because there were no commercial egg replacers when I started doing this, I wasn't thinking about it so much as egg replacer. People are using Aquafaba on alcoholic, there are some cocktails, right, that had egg white on them. So some of the bartenders are, they're not bartenders. What do you call them? Drinks people.
Mixologists.
Mixologists. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Gina says, I'm surprised Fran hasn't gotten into molecular gastronomy. Seems like she would love the experimentation.
I've done some of it. I absolutely have some of the some of the items in my home. Yeah, there's a lot of, it's really interesting because I think the thing to do, especially for people who are just starting out, is to find recipes that work. You don't just go out there into the internet world and pick a recipe from someone you don't know and try to make it. If something doesn't make sense, it's not good. We have enough really great vegan recipes now for desserts where you don't have to invent the wheel. If you are experimenting, cut a recipe in half, scale it down by a half, maybe even a quarter, and make it the way it's written. So for people who aren't using oil or granulated sweetener, you might not eat it, you give it to someone else, but you'll be able to see it, to smell it, to see the consistency, to see the crumb and so on. And then go ahead and do your variations. But, everything matters. How much? Well, that depends on how much to you. When you're using chocolate, I use high percentage chocolates. So 72 and above. If you start and you're making a ganache, which, as I said, you can see the episode that I did with Chef AJ some time ago this year or in 2020, and I did ganache. Well, if the right chocolate to use is the one that tastes good to you right out of the package, but you can't mess around with the percentage of it. If the recipe writer says 70 to 72% and you use an 85 or 100, your result is going to be really different and maybe not right. So you want to pay attention to that. The trend towards chocolates right now, the bean to bar, a lot of chocolate makers are using maple sugar and coconut sugar and whole cane sugar instead of organic sugar. Organic sugar is sugar cane that hasn't been bleached or otherwise processed, and then whole cane sugar is the same thing. It just has all of the molasses intact. That's in the sugar cane, whereas brown sugar is white sugar with a lot of times with molasses painted on it. And if you're not using organic, you get a chemical soup. So these chocolates have different flavor profile. I don't always love them, but you find something that does. I like date syrup as a sweetener, and I think you do too, Chef AJ.
So I love date syrup. Yep.
Really nice. To me, it's a molasses-ish milder taste than molasses, but it's lovely, but doesn't work on everything. So you get, and this is why the course at Rouxbe is so exciting to me, because I get to take the time to really explain things. People really learn the foundational techniques of how to do this and then go off and bend them, make them their own, go towards what they want. I'm curious about this. I'm curious to see how this did. I want to put a fork in here and see how much this softened. Oh, it's so crispy. Nice. So, I mean, here's a bite. Here's an Aquafaba meringue that was made with, not with granulated sugar. And I don't usually taste, but I want to taste the cream. Cream is good. The cream is good. If you make this cream and it doesn't taste sweet enough to you, you can add a little bit of maple syrup or maple sugar to it. We have different tastes. I think a great fixer is citrus. It brightens everything up. Add a little lemon zest or orange zest and it's good.
Wow, you're amazing, Fran. Thank you so much. I just love your passion for dessert and for healthy dessert. What's next for you? How can we follow you? How can we support you?
Thank you for asking. Well, you can follow me on Facebook, and there it is. My page is Fran Costigan, vegan pastry chef, and I've been doing more Facebook lives and Instagram lives. On Instagram and Twitter and Pinterest, I'm Good Cakes Fran. And if you sign up for my newsletter, which if you go to my website, there's going to be a pop-up, which I hope you will, you'll get recipes, you'll get tips, and we can stay in touch. And my calendar is there as well. So, what I've been doing is I've been doing more savory food just because I like to eat. I like my own food. But I've been experimenting more, as I did today, with a different category of desserts that fit the whole food plant-based. Now, I don't think you can everybody has a different taste idea about that. So it's just, I want everyone to be able to have a treat that suits what they are about. That's the way that I feel about it. If someone comes to me and they say, I can't have oil, I can't have flour, I can't have sugar, and I can't have salt. Well, we have gorgeous recipes for baked apples, for poached pears, for roasted. We do a balsamic roasted fruit assignment in the Essential Vegan Desserts course that is exquisite. Or, a gel like this. I mean, this certainly it reads like dessert, but doesn't have any flour. It's naturally gluten-free. There is no oil. So that's what I want. I want everyone to have what they need. We don't have to put a candle in a baked sweet potato, although I love sweet potatoes, orange ones, purple ones, white. I love them. And I thank Dr. McDougall. Remember, that's how we met. That's how we met.
Absolutely. At the Celebrity Chef Weekend in June of 2009.
And you stood on your head. It was so much fun to meet you. And, did we think in 2009 that there would be this much interest in what we're doing? I don't know. It's great. People want to feel better. And I think a treat can go a long way towards that. I mean, knock on wood. I'm healthy. I'm not taking any medicine except for vitamin B12 and some D. I have 4 grandchildren. They call some of my desserts. I have this oat muffin that I think it might be named a power muffin. It's in More Great Good. They call it Frama muffins, but everybody cooks and sometimes they want a muffin. Okay. Or a little piece of cake. The little one had said to his mother, she made my chocolate cake to live for with a dark chocolate ganache. And he said, Ma, I don't like dark chocolate. He had a taste and he said, can I have another piece? So, don't fuss with people. Don't force them. Put out what you're making on a really pretty plate. Doesn't have to be, this was my treat plate. Doesn't have to be something like this, but it can go a long way. I bought 4, but it can be a little plate like this.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for the beautiful presentation and your thorough explanation of so many different principles. It's wonderful having you on.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I hope I see you soon again.
Me
Thank you,
too.
everyone, for coming.
And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. We have another wonderful culinary demonstration in about 90 minutes at 2 p.m. Pacific time with Nate and Lissa Marin. They have amazing cookbooks out. They're going to be making a Hawaiian pizza burger and pineapple ice cream. Thanks again, Fran. Great to see you.
My pleasure.